from my studies there and from my practice and as a practicing therapist as well, I've come to see how our reliance on thinking that we should know everything is very holds us back. And we've kind of embraced the fact that human beings, as we grow, as we have been on this planet for millions of years, have found ways to get through the most unknowable of situations. And that is how we've survived. And that is how we've built everything around us. If you just look at it, so much, right? Humans are like continuous builders. But that doesn't mean we know what's going to happen. And part of our lives is a major part of it is the unknowability of almost everything in our lives. If you think about personal relationships and what kinds of conversations we have and what might come of those conversations, we don't know. If you think about like nowadays, there's so much talk about uncertainty and uncertainty about the economy. But the reality is, it was never certain, right? You can sometimes feel like this is a moment of major uncertainty. And yes, there are more or less, if you look around the world and the different kinds of struggles that are going on for people. I'm not saying it isn't, but to the extent that we think we're going to know and be able to know what's going to turn out, it holds us back. And it doesn't allow us to make use of our capacity to create, to see what's there, see what's possible. So we want to work together today to see if we can collectively help each other embrace unknowability more, that there are some things that we just cannot know.
Mhm.
Okay. And some of them are like looking out into the universe and the stars, and you're like, what? And some of them, like I was saying, is we think we know that if we leave today from our houses, we'll get to work in an hour, but we actually don't know because we don't know what's going to happen along the way.
About the unknown, I've always been trained to actually know stuff because doctors are expected by patients. But while we were playing this morning, it was actually refreshing, and there's a big release to be able to admit that I don't know a lot of things. Like that's why it's called practice. And whenever there's an unknown back then, I would be anxious and scared. But now, since because of improv, I've realized that it's okay that I don't know, and it's actually nice to be kind to myself. So while listening to your stories, it's really nice to have those different kinds of emotions and kindness to myself. So now when I'm faced with the unknown, I face it with a little bit more of patience, and I'm really like excited that I can face it, and it's okay if I don't know. And maybe when I rely on others and on myself, maybe we can try to discover it. So that is just how I view the unknown nowadays. So thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Hey, crew.
Unknown. So, as I said, uncertainty. So, last year at the Playtelligence, Gwen and I have started to craft a play shop called Embracing Uncertainty. And the reason why we decided to do that was because we meet students every day and the young people, young kids. And for those young people, young kids are scared and feared about the future, what's going to be happening. And in Japan, the societal ratio is really high for the young people as well. And we thought we want to give them a hope. You know, you don't really have to scare about the future. But we continue the discussion. And then we came to the point that the reason why we are so scared of uncertain is because we cannot know what's going to be happening in the future. So we came to the point that, okay, maybe we can just find out what is unknown and what is unknownability.
About the unknown and how to actually um, craft a play session about it, we realized that it's really such a huge topic. And as much as possible, we wanted to encapsulate like a play shop that can encompass the whole concept of it. Um, we kind of know that this might be like a touchstone that can lead to further exploration of what the unknown is. So Gwen wanted to start the session with this quote by Stephen Nachmanovich, right? Who uh, articulated it very, very well in our opinion. So if I can share it with you guys. So pieces of art can be built. Incredible things can be built from conflict. They can be built on uncertainty. They can be built on fear. That's the great thing about this kind of work. It doesn't have
That's
to be
right.
it doesn't have to be known. But if you're using your capacity to listen, and if you're using the innate structuring ability that's built into you as a 4.5 billion year old living organism, then you can use fear, conflict, difficulty, unknowability as the basis for doing incredible things.
Let me share the slide again. We came up to that journey that, okay, now you know that you cannot know everything. There are a lot of things. So that's a step zero. You see, in your future, a lot of things are unknown. So step zero to step one. And what can I do? There's nothing I can do. So I just have to accept it. So you slowly start accepting it. And if you get a chance to practice improvisation, then you can just play with it. That's step three. Oh, whatever happens, you can just play with it, or you can have fun with it. And then you kind of feel like, okay, I know everything. Then go back to step zero. Like me. I was talking about my story at the beginning that, I thought, oh, I could handle everything with improv. But then I couldn't do that. I failed. So now I came back to step zero and then step one, and then still I accept whatever happens because you cannot deny, you cannot reject. It's happening already. So instead of rejecting, denying, you just have to accept. That's, simpler. Then I started playing with it again. Then maybe I will go back to step zero. So it's a never ending story, never ending journey.
Curious about it, or some people are anxious or excited what was inside the box. When we were trying to come up with this exercise, Gwen was actually anxious about it. She actually had the pressure of like knowing what was the box, what's inside the box. And it actually brought me to the days where a doctor, a consultant, or attending, like an old doctor would ask us young students about a certain case or about a certain diagnosis, and would try to probe us on our line of reasoning, and we would panic because we sometimes we didn't know the answer. So it kind of made me reflect on how anxious I can get when I am faced with the unknown, right? So we would want to try to get to know each other and a little bit of how we react towards the unknown by playing this game, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to pass a ball. So like for example, me, I'm just going to say my name first, and then I'm going to say the feeling that I associate most with whenever I encounter the unknown, right? And after that, I will try to do a pose that signifies that emotion that I feel towards the unknown. So for example, I'll try to demonstrate it. So my name is Toto, and I am curious. So every time I see some things, probably that's how the educator doctor in me, whenever I see something that is unknown, I am curious about it, right? So Toto, curious. All right.
Total
So
curious.
can I ask everybody to repeat my name and repeat the action? So Toto,
Total
curious.
Total
curious.
curious.
Total curious.
All right. So I'm gonna pass the ball to Hikaru.
Okay, thank you. So, Hikaru, curious.
Hikaru,
Hikaru.
Hekuru
curious.
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 And I'm passing the ball to T. Lee.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we all using curious, or is it just that the two of you used curious?
We
Yes.
both get curious.
We,
So,
our predominant feeling for the unknown is curiosity. So you can use any emotion that you feel towards the unknown. The strongest one or the most recent one. It's really up to you.
Hmm.
I should have
Um,
said excited and curious.
so, Teely? Interested.
Stood.
Oh,
T.
Keely,
Tea
Lee,
Lee,
interesting.
interested.
Interesting.
Thank you.
thank you. So thank you guys. It's very, very interesting. When we were talking about the unknown, we realized that even the three of us, Gwen, Hikaru, and I, we had different or varying approaches or emotional responses to the unknown, right? And it's very interesting to see some people have similar emotions, and other people have actually uh, one or two emotions associated with facing the uncertain, right? And I'd like to just point out to the interesting fact, like what Barbara did. She had like two seemingly opposite emotions, uh, like very curious about it, but at the same time, like scared or uncertain. So, it's very interesting to see how people respond to the unknown. Yes, Hikaru, anything to add to that?
Yeah, it is. I really thought, and also I want. Well, it was kind of complicated, like confusing, but I
Yeah.
chose curious as well because when we were talking about crafting this play shop, like Toto and me are kind of similar, so we choose the same emotion, curious. But then I found out, Toto goes like curious, so he's really thinking. But then I go like curious. I grab the opportunity or I go whatever, I never think. I just jump into the thing. So I never think but just take an action. But for both of us, we choose curious at the same time. So what are those? So that words are really, language are really, interesting. We choose the same language, but we are maybe in a different emotion. So we came up to the idea that you have your own emotion monsters inside of you. Let me show you what kind of emotion monsters you have. See? And so you have all different kinds of emotion monsters. And we kind of named the monsters first, but we decided to throw them away because, it's up to you. You can name the monster. For example, the number 8.
As a physician educator, I am expected to know a lot of things, right? And for me, admitting that I don't know anything actually sometimes can be seen as admitting that I'm a failure, or at least I am not as at this level where I'm expected to be. So while going through medicine, I had this image that I have to come across as I know, I'm supposed to know everything because that is what's expected of me. And the line of work is that because the patient deserves it, that I should know everything. But it is so freeing for me to just even admit to myself that I don't know everything. And especially in this group where we're trying to explore and talk about the unknown, it actually is very refreshing for me to see people manifest what is unknown to them and actually share their emotions and feelings. So that is why this is resonating so much with me. I don't know how it is with you guys, and I'm actually interested in knowing, and I'm actually grateful to for everyone sharing their emotions. So maybe Hickory, we can have one or two people talk if you guys would like to share how it is with you and that your emotion. Yes, Hickory, what do you think?
Well, what I'm thinking is like, when I started practicing improvisation, like I I have serendipities all the time now. That's what Barbara was talking about. I was uncertain, but I was certain. You know, and I love that word, the serendipity, because I kind of feel like, oh, I knew that was going to be happening. Yeah. But I wasn't, I was not uncertain. I was not known, but I made it through. And like, I visualize everything in the future. I'm hoping that it's going to be happening. No war, no fighting. And then if you wish, you just try to take an action to it. So that's what I kind of feel like, that's one of those unknown ability skills through improvisation. You're on a stage, whatever happens, then, the audience throws you a lot of different kinds of strange, offers, but you have to accept it. And then
Right.
you strengthen your skills of unknown ability because if you are on a stage, if you're scared of, oh, what comes next, then you're not going to be able to perform. You get frozen. So, yeah, that improvisation really gave me an opportunity to grow myself, cultivate my unknown ability.
Thanks for that, Hikaru. And if I might add, like if we're talking about what improvisation or about improvisation, and I just like to relate it to our first exercise, that exercise of that emotion thing. Improv for me, I've been improvising for like a few years now, and one of the biggest gifts that improv has given me actually is this the gift of awareness, the self awareness and of presence, right? So in terms of like unknown, what improv has taught me is to be aware of, like, first of all, my internal environment. Like, how do I feel about it, right? Or what's my mindset towards one thing, which is in this case the unknown. And having now that I know, then I can move forward, because I feel that being conscious of your internal milieu or environment actually helps you deal with and interact with our external environment, which is the unknown. So that is one powerful thing that improv has given me, which is the sense of presence and self-awareness, right? Said by people, because you can identify with that. And it kind of brought me a little bit relief that, oh, I'm not alone. Like, some people also feel excited or anxious or even accepting towards what we don't know, right? And what I noticed, but also what Hikaru said, even if we feel the same thing towards the unknown, it may not necessarily be the same manifestation. So, like, for example, my curiosity is more of like an academic curiosity, like, towards it. Like, I want to know more. Whereas Hikaru was more of like playful, like, curious, but she wants to like grab it and get to know it. So that's how it comes across to me. And it's really interesting seeing it. And I'm really thankful that I'm getting a chance to actually talk about it, which is something that we rarely do in real life, especially in like our position where we hold positions of authority, where we're actually expected to know like a lot of things, right?
Say just really quickly something
Oh,
that
it's like,
this conversation is helpful, but one thing that I'm thinking about, I'm in the States, is that organic kind of work, there's not a lot of tolerance in the States for that type of process. It's right. I need to know what's going to happen. I need to know the plan. I need to have the agenda, and each moment, right, is structured. So I think various cultures, I'm guessing, may have a higher tolerance for like an organic kind of process of things unfolding over time, where in Western cultures, in general, we tend to be more time focused, right? And every moment has to be productive,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of where I was coming from.